Hey guys, it's Matt with Mix Coach, and today we're going to talk about a newer reverb out from a company called HOFA, um, and it's called the IQ-Reverb, and it's really a spectacular convolution reverb. Uh, as you see here, it's got a pretty big interface, but the cool thing is that you can completely readjust it to however big you need it. And another really cool thing is over here, it has a list of the impulse responses, uh, the reverb time, what kind of channel setup it is, and then also it gives recommendations for what they think it sounds best on. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't use it on other stuff. It's just kind of a nice little guideline for the user to kind of get an idea. And to that end, let's just go ahead and keep going over the interface here. Over here, they have a great test section where you can actually choose different situations of what you might be doing. Like, as you heard, you're automatically, instantly getting to check out what reverbs you are using. So as you go through here, you can go over here and just test all these different samples of the reverb and kind of get an idea without even having to patch it in and get everything routed and check it out. That's awesome. And next to that, we have a 3-band frequency. This is not an EQ, but what this does is you'll see up on the spectrogram up there, you can actually dampen frequencies at wherever they are set. So say we start pulling down the highs, watch what it does. As you'll see, it starts dampening and rolling off the highs. And over here we have a gate. So a built-in gate to the reverb, get some of the classic 80s sounds. And then over here is a cut an impulse response cut, which to me is kind of like a gate, but I guess it's just kind of whichever you prefer, because it kind of acts the same. It just chops off the actual IR at a specified time, has a specified amount for the fade in milliseconds, and to me it's kind of half a dozen, 1/6 the other. You can kind of set them up to achieve the same kind of effect. You might be able to get a little bit smoother with the cut, as it's not going to quite clamp as hard as a gate. Using the fade can be a little bit easier than having to deal with a hold and release on the gate. And next we have some modulation to kind of give it dial in maybe a little more spatial dimension to it. And then next to that, a really cool feature which isn't available on all of the impulse responses, but on some of them you can actually position within the stereo spectrum. And if we go up here, something else that's really neat is you can actually adjust the amount of crosstalk on the input, which can add another depth to the stereo field as well. Very neat. I haven't seen that in a reverb plugin that I can remember. It's kind of a neat little feature. Over here we have the Reverb Times in your RT60, which basically all that is it tells you how long it is before it reaches negative 60 dBFS. And then dampening overall. Let's drop it way down. See, as you can see, instead of like down here we had it broken up into 3 different sections, this kind of just does it overall dampening. And then right here you can actually stretch the impulse response within the amount of time that you have had there. And over here we have, you can do direct or you can turn it off and have early and late reflection control of your pre-delays, which is a nice feature. Usually you'll just see a pre-delay period. This kind of gives you the ability to be a little bit more creative with pre-delays, because it's instead of just being the front and spacing that pre-delay from your actual audio source and then the delayed circuit of the reverb, you can kind of get creative and get some cool effects there. And next to that we have a wet dry mix, typical standard stuff here. And that's pretty much an overview of the plugin. I love the spectrogram feature and how they break everything down into visuals for you, and it's completely, I mean, you can turn this thing anyway and get an idea of what's going on. That's just awesome to see how the impulse response is in this waterfall plot. But on this mix here, which is Mix Coach's Mix of the Month right now, Sing Me Back Home. This is Wade Spencer's take on an old Merle Haggard song. If you want to join in on the fun, just come over to mixcoach.com and sign up for the monthly downloads and the pro membership, and we'll get you going and get mixing. But let's go ahead and check it out. I'm going to solo the acoustics to start with, and let's just listen to the medium plate type sound I have dialed in here. So you can hear, even though this is a shorter impulse response I'm using here, you can still hear it has a nice quick decay, nothing grainy about it. If we let's get something a little longer so we can really hear the decay and listen to how smooth the decay is. Very detailed impulse responses here. Let's choose large slow haul. Very, 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 very smooth, which I love. And when you have to have a nice long reverb tail here, let's choose something even longer. Just a beautiful, beautiful tail to it. And let's go back with the one I was using on the entire mix, and let's just listen to how it's sitting and gelling in with this mix we have going on overall. In fact, I'm going to copy this one back over because it'll have the same preset we were using. I had the early reflections pre-delayed. Okay, let's check it out.
The warden led a prisoner down the hallway to his doom. I stood up to say goodbye like all the rest, and I heard him tell the warden just before he reached my cell, let my guitar playing friend do my request, let him sing.
As you can hear, very smooth, very subtle. The smoothest, I always look for smooth reverbs. I don't like, unless I'm going for something vintage that darker, more modulated sound, low bandwidth. Usually isn't my cup of tea. Totally depends, but uh, this has a good collection of impulse responses, and the learning curve's a little bit higher than most because there's quite a few more features on it than even most typical convolution reverbs. But there's really some neat stuff here in the actual graphic visual feedback you have. It's not only is it nice to see, but it's actually very beneficial and you can learn a lot from it, and that's always a good thing. I love learning new stuff, and this is a great way to school yourself on exactly how reverb times and reverb tails work and how they decay, how the frequencies plays a role in the decay, and the way they've got the whole graphic model going on of that is very informative and a great way to learn some stuff. Another great thing is I don't know if I showed this a minute ago, but you can actually literally break this off from that and have them two separate things and get this out of the way, and you can still keep thumbing through the impulse response. You can even search. I really love how they've done that, and then when you want to come back, you can just bring it right back, and then you can. It's just really, really, really neat the way they laid it out. Great stuff from HOFA. They have some very intelligent, if you will, with their IQ series plugins going on, and you definitely need to check them out if you haven't, because they have some great sounding EQs and compressors that run on their IQ algorithms. And again, I say, with this one, it might look a little daunting at first, but until once you just dive in there and start messing with it, playing with it, it's very intuitive. You'll just kind of fall right into it, and great sounding impulse responses. I give this one 2 thumbs up. One thing, if you'll notice on my reverb returns, I'm using an EQ below that because there's really not an actual EQ in this one, and typically I like to low off some roll end, or especially if I'm using a plate, sometimes you get a real annoying frequency that you want to carve out on certain things, and I just like having that control. And since there wasn't an actual parametric EQ in this, I had to do that. I would like to see maybe an update a parametric EQ, but that's certainly by no means gonna stop me from recommending buying this. That's not a deal breaker at all. So definitely go check it out, guys, and until next time, happy mixing.